Welcome guys to this new tutorial. Today we're going to be building an API from scratch, okay? And in this build I'm going to show you how you can set up your project or how you can build an API from scratch. So before diving deep into the API build, let's define an API. What is an API? API stands for Application Programming Interface, but that sounds a bit hard. So let me illustrate that in an example. Let's say you are going to a restaurant, okay? When you reach a restaurant, there is a place for customers. That means there is a place where you can stay. But you get the food, or the food comes from the kitchen, okay? So now consider the place where you stay as a front end and the kitchen as the back end, all right? So for you to get the food, your food needs to be cooked in the kitchen, but you as a client, you can't talk directly to the kitchen, okay? There needs to be a waiter who will go to the kitchen and talk to the kitchen. So let's consider you, a client of a restaurant, as a client coming to a website, okay, or a web application. The front end part is where you're going to stay. The API is going to be the waiter, okay, and the back end is the kitchen. That's how it works, okay? So for you place your order, you tell what you want to the waiter goes to the kitchen, tells the cook which type of food you want, and then the waiter brings back the food to you, right? That's how the API works. So you the front end talks to the API goes to the back end, brings data from the back end to the front end, okay? So the API ensures the communication between the front and the back end, all right? So I think you have understood that concept of the API. So we are going to be building today a simple API for our blog, okay? We have imagined a blog, and it will be a simple blog where you can type something, no crazy picture, no comment, no anything, because I wanted to keep this build very simple and very easy, so that even if someone who has come for the first time, or the person who wants to build an API for the first time, that means a beginner, understands how we build an API. But if you want to take this lesson a step further, you can add more functionalities, or you can implement whatever you want in this build. So with no further ado guys, let's quickly jump into the build and see how it's going to be structured. Before we dive deep into that, I'm going to tell you the prerequisite for this course, okay? So you'll need a little knowledge of JavaScript before diving deep in. Apart from that, you're going to install Compass, okay, MongoDB Compass for the database. You're also going to install Postman to test our database, to test our API, and I'll put the links in the description below. So in the meantime, make sure you smash that like button for the YouTube algorithm. It helps my video get spreaded, and subscribe to my channel so that you keep on seeing my content whenever I upload. So with no further ado, let's now jump into the build part of this. Okay, so right here you'll need to install Node.js so that we get a server on our local machine. And to do this, you go to nodejs.org/download, and I'll put the link in the description below. You choose your operating system and download Node.js. After downloading Node.js, there you will be set and ready to go. You first, after downloading, you'll need to install that so that it gets up and running. So after there, you can follow up with the tutorial. We'll be ready to go. So we'll start this project by creating an empty repository, and for that I'll go to the command line and type in git init and the name of the project. And as I said, we're going to create an API for a certain blog, so I'll give it a name. I'll say blog API, then I enter. You see they say initialized empty git repository on that path. So here all I'm going to do is say cd, I entered that blog repository. I'll say blog API. Then after doing this, the next step I'm going to do is to open VS Code. Okay, I'll say code, then space, and that will spin up that will open a VS Code, our VS Code. So we jump there to continue this build. Now as we are in VS Code, this is our project. So as you can see, this is an empty project, okay? So all I'm going to do is to create my first file, or before that I can start by downloading Express, okay, the Express package, because we are going to use Node.js, and the specific package you're going to use for building this API is going to be the Express, okay, the Express package. So I'll start by downloading the Express package, and for this I'll just say npm e express. So this will open this will create also a package JSON for us. So let's wait for it to finish so that we can continue building this project together. Okay, now it's loading. We just wait a minute. Okay, it's done. Now we are going back to our Visual Studio Code. Just give me a second. As you can see, we already have package JSON, package lock.json, and node modules. So beside this, I'll create a file and I'll name this index, or let me say app.js. okay, this is going to be our main file where everything is going to start. So to create an API, I'll first call my package in this app.js, okay, so that we spin up our server. So here I'm going to say const express is going to be equal to require. I'm going to require that specific package, okay, express equal require express, like this. Then after doing that, the next step, I'm now going to say const app is going to be equal to express, and this is a function, okay, I call that function, and this will be our app. So now to open my server, or to spin up the server, all I'm going to do is to say app.listen, and this will be listening at port 4000, okay, I like port 4000. So after doing this, if I go back here, or let me just open a new terminal within VS Code, a new terminal, and all I'm going to do is to say node app.js so that our server starts, okay. So here I'm going to just say node app.js. So wait a minute, wait for it. It's going to take a couple of seconds to start the server. Let's just wait for it. Okay, our server is up and running now, but you don't see anything, right? So to show you that the server is really working, I'll add a callback here, and this is going to be a function, okay, and this function will just say console. We just log something to our console, and this will be server started, okay, started on port 4000. So now this can't be shown to our server right now unless we restart the server. So whenever you make a change to your application, you have to restart your server. So I'll say again node app.js, and as you can see, we see this server started on port 4000. But as you can tell, restarting the server every time we make a change to our application can be destructive, okay. So for this, we have a new package that will be restarting our server automatically whenever we make a change, and that package is called Nodemon, okay. So I'll just go back here and say Nodemon and install Nodemon. So I'll say npm install Nodemon, just like this. Wait for it. It will take a couple of seconds to install. Then after that, we'll go back to our project, okay. So while this is installing, all I'm going to do is to go back here, and instead of typing all the time, okay, let me just stop my server. So all the time, instead of typing node app.js, we can do something else. We come to our package.json, and here all we are going to do, wait a minute. One thing we forgot to do is to initialize the package.json, and for that you can go back to your terminal and type in npm init. It will create this file right here. So now you see right here we have script and we have test. Okay, so all we can do, we can say start. We'll have another script, and this is going to be start, and start is going to be node app.js. okay, so after doing this, instead of typing here in my terminal, instead of typing node app.js, I'll just say npm start. Okay, and I think this is like something like a shortcut, and you see again server started on port 4000. So now, as I said before, instead of be reloading the server every time we make a change to our application, we are going to use Nodemon. And to use Nodemon, we'll go back here to package.json, and instead of saying node app.js, let me first shut down my server, and here it's going to be Ctrl+C. Yeah, I shut my server, and here I'm going to say Nodemon, just like this. When we see Nodemon app.js, that will be restarting the server all the time. So when I start my server, I say npm start, sorry. So after npm start, you'll see a couple of changes. Okay, you see now some green and yellow lines being there, and those lines come from Nodemon. So here, if I say maybe server started with Nodemon, if you check my terminal there, you see restarting due to changes, and you see server started with Nodemon on port 4000. That means our Nodemon is working the way we expect it to work. Okay, and this will be helpful since we won't be obliged to restart the server all the time. We are making changes to our application, and this will speed up our development time. Okay, so now after doing this, we may go back and focus on our application, and all I'm going to do here is to continue working on this. Okay, now our server is up and running on port 4000, and this is a normal server. Okay, but in our case, we are going to create an API. We are not going to create a normal server. This is going to be an API. So for the API, we have what we call routes, and routes are just path. Okay, and what do I mean by that? Let me show you an example in this tutorial right here, or let me say here server started. So now we are going to use here, all you're going to use is to say app.use. okay, and this use is a method created by Express, and here you specify the path, and my path is going to be slash nothing. Okay, so that means when you start up your application at /nothing, so that will be localhost /nothing, what will happen? And here we have a function or a callback, and this function takes in some parameters or some argument. Okay, and first it takes in a request, after that it takes in a result, and next, and you can omit this next part of that application, but I really like to leave that next right there to show that it's another argument that is it's being passed there. So here I'm going to say, the request is when you post something or you send a request. It can be a post request, a get request, a put request, a delete request. That means your front end is sending a request to the back end. Okay, like in the restaurant, when you are ordering for food, you tell the waiter, I want this food. Okay, then the waiter goes to the kitchen or goes to the back end. All right, so that's the request, and as a result, for the case of the restaurant, you get back food. Okay, you get back what you ordered, and in this case you're going to get back the result. And here, to make it very simple, I'm going to say res.status, and for the API you always, okay, for a good practice, you always have to put the status, and the status here is 200, and this is okay. That means the request has succeeded and we get back the result. And here it's going to be JSON, since this is an API, we're going to get back the JSON data, and the data we are getting back is going to be message, and this message is going to be let me say server or request accepted. So right here, if you visit localhost 4000, you will see request accepted. And to show you that it's working, I'll just go back. I'll go to my browser, okay, and type in localhost 4000, okay. So after typing in localhost 4000, wait for it, you see message request accepted. That means we are getting back the result from the back end, okay. So that means everything up until this point, everything is working just fine. So let me explain a little bit what is happening here. We are starting the server. We are requiring Express. Remember, as I said, we are going to use Express with Node.js, okay. Express is a Node.js framework, and we are going to use that to make the process a little bit faster. And here we are going to have app.use, and remember here, use can be for get request, for post request, for put request, and for delete request. But you can specify, you can say, okay, when I'm on slash nothing, I just want to get the result from the back end, or I just want to post the result to the back end. So there we are going to have a function, okay, that says when I'm on slash nothing, this is what is going to happen, okay. And there you are like explaining, like maybe when I go to slash get post, I only want to get a specific post, and in that function, that is where you are going to explain that, or you're going to define that logic, okay, in that function handler. And in that function handler has three parameters: has a request, has a result, and has a next. And I will explain later why or in which case we need to use that next. But for now, just know that it has a request and a result. You send a request, you get back a result. In our case, when we are on slash nothing, we only get back the JSON data, and JSON stands for JavaScript Object Notation. So that the JSON we are getting back is message, okay. It's a message that said request accepted, but you're going to develop that so that we get real data from the back end, okay. So for now, I'll try to change my project a little bit. So here I'm going to create two folders. I'm going to have one folder called routes, okay, and this is where we're going to put all our routes, okay, like slash nothing, slash get post, slash delete post, and all those stuffs. So apart from that, I'll have another one called models, okay, called models. And this folder, sorry, it's not supposed to be inside there, it's supposed to be out. And this folder called models is going to hold our models, okay. So what do I mean by models? Remember, when you're storing data in the database, you have to store it according to some process or according to some blueprint, and those are going to be our models. And we'll have a model for post, okay. That will be the way you store a post in the database. And we'll have a user, because we are also going to work with users. So for the user, we are going to have a model, and the model can contain, let me say for the user, it can contain the username, the email, and the password, okay. For the post, it can contain the post title, the post content, the number of comments, the number of likes, and so on. That is where we're going to define that logic. And here the last one is going to hold, this will be the controllers, okay. This will hold the controllers. And you may ask yourself, why am I doing it this way? This is supposed to be out, okay. That because when you are building when you are working with the back end, there is what we call MVC, and MVC stands for models, views, and controllers. But in our case, this is an API. It's not a backend server. We are not working directly with a backend. So we won't have views. Okay, we're only going to have models and controllers, and that folder of controllers will hold these functions. Okay, the functions that we execute when we are on a certain route. So the route will only contain our path. Okay, then the controllers will contain our functions that will define what will happen when we reach a certain route, okay, or a certain path, and we'll have our models. So enough of talking, let's quickly jump into that and try to work with this with this structure of our project. Now, without wasting time, let's quickly try to arrange our project the way we have said it. Okay, so I'll first go to route, and we'll have two files here. We'll have one for the post, okay, I'll say post.js, and we'll have later on one for the user, and this is going to be user.js, like this. Okay, so now for the post, or to create a route, all you have to do is to require express again. Okay, express is going to be equal to require express, just like this. The next step, we are going to say const route or router, it depends on you, and we're going to say express dot router. Okay, and this is the function we are going to use to create the route. And it depends on you. You can say, each route can have its own folder depending on how you want to structure your project. But as this is not a very big project, all you're going to do is to put all the routes regarding the post in this one file, and all the route regarding the user to the other file. So all the route regarding the post, what do I mean by that? First, we are going to have the create post, okay, because you want to create a post in your blog. Apart from the create post, the second we'll have is the delete post. Yeah, I want to make this simple, so we'll have two routes for creating a post and deleting a post. Maybe we're going to have also a route for modifying a post. Okay, now let's say we're going to have three routes. So all I can do here is to say const, just like this, const create. Oh, this is going to be const routes. No, I want to give it another name. It's going to be create post route. Okay, and you can name it however you want, but this is how I want to name it. And remember, as I said, this is going to hold our route, so we'll have a route for create post, just like this, and we are going to have a function later on. Okay, but for now I want to leave it like this. But also I want to specify that we'll have another route for fetching the post. Okay, when you reach, when you visit that page, you have to fetch the post, right? The post that already exists. So I'll also have a route of fetch posts. Okay, and this is going to be also, here is now when we visit /nothing. Okay, so we have fetch post, create post, and another one will have const. This is going to be equal to modify post route. Okay, and this will be fetch posts route, just like this. This is going to be equal to /edit / this will hold, I think, for now let me leave it like that. It will be /edit. Okay, so we'll have another one that will be delete post route, and this is going to be equal to /delete, or I can say edit post. Okay, so that we know that we are deleting a post or we are editing a post, just like that. Then we'll add more logic on that a little bit later on. And here, after doing this, there is one thing crucial you have to know, is that you have to use this router that you have defined. So I'll say router dot, and here I won't say router dot use, but I'll have to specify, do I need to get data, do I need to post data, do I need to delete, what do I need to do? So I'll say router dot get, because I only want to get all the posts, okay? And this is going to be router dot post. Okay, let me make it simple and say router dot post, because I'm creating a post and modifying a post. I'll say router dot, there is router dot post, sorry, and this one is going to be router dot delete, or instead of saying router dot delete, you can also say router dot post. It all depends on you, but me, I want to make it simple and say router dot post. But you can use also the router dot delete. So after doing this, we are almost done, but not really, because we'll need to do some others. We'll need to add some other things there, but for now, let's keep it that simple. So here, after doing that, after creating the router, I'm going to pop this out like this. So we'll have, actually for the post, we'll only have 4 functions. We'll have router.get / nothing. This is where we're going to fetch all the posts, okay? We have /create post. This is where we're going to create a new post. We have /edit post. This is where we're going to edit a post, okay? Because for a blog, maybe you may publish your blog where there are some typos, you have to fix them. You can edit your post. We also have /delete post, and this is the route where maybe you no longer want that post to be online, you can delete it, okay? Because you have to give your user all the ability to do almost everything. So here I'm going to do is to say const. This is going to be const. I'm going to say fetch. Give me a sec. Fetch posts route, okay, just like this, and that is going to be equal to router.get. So another one here is going to be const create posts route. This is going to be also equal to that, and this one is going to be edit post route, okay. It's also going to be equal to router.post, and the last one I'm going to say const delete posts, const delete posts route, just like this, is also going to be equal to that. So module export, this is going to be fetch post route. The second one is going to be create post route. We'll have edit post route, and delete post route. So here in app.js, instead of doing this, I'm going to destructure that object that we get, and we're going to say fetch post route, create post. We'll have edit post and delete post, okay? So those are the 4 routes that we have just fetched from this file, okay? And they are all here, and we exported from this other file. So after doing this, remember, as I said, or as if we look at this example, okay, you have a route and you have a function, okay, and this function is the one that will be executed whenever you are on a certain route. And now we have used the route. Now we need to use the function, okay? We need to define the function, sorry, and the functions are going to be defined in the controllers, okay, because they are controllers, okay? They control what will happen at a certain route. So we are going to go in our controllers and define those functions, okay? We are going to define the function that will be responsible for getting the data from the app, for getting all the posts, or for fetching all the posts. Apart from that, we'll have another function that will be responsible for editing the file, okay, or editing a post, we'll have another function that will be responsible for creating the post, and we'll have another function that will be responsible for deleting the post. Okay, and those are our controllers. And to create controllers, I'll go here, I'll go to controllers and create a file. Okay, the first file I'm going to create is going to be post. It's going to be post.js. Okay, so we'll have posts in routes and posts in controllers, and another one is going to be user, because remember we have all I want to say is that we have also the controllers for the user, because remember we're going to have two routes for users. We'll have one route for creating a user, and one route for signing up a user, and one route for signing in the user. So for those two routes, we'll have two controllers automatically. Okay, that way I want to create a user.js, but we'll go slowly. So first of all, we're going to create all the logic for the posts, then later on we'll go with the logic for the users. So here for post, I'm going to say export constant, and this constant is going to be called maybe fetch posts handler. Okay, now this is a handler and it's going to be defined like this, and here we'll have request, result, and next. Okay, that's what we're going to have in this first one. So the second one is going to be export constant create posts. Instead of creating post route, is going to be create post handler, and same logic, request, result, and next. Then after doing this, we leave them empty for now, because we're going to define the logic slowly. And here the third one is going to be export constant edit. This will be edit post handler, and this will be equal to requests, results, and next, just the way we did for the others. And the last one is going to be for deleting a post. Okay, so this will be delete post handler, just like this. And it's also going to be equal to request, result, and next, but you can omit the next as I said it. And this is also going to be empty. So now all these controllers, we are going to pull them from the controllers and put them in our route. Okay, because remember, as I said, a function in the route has a route itself. Like here we have a route, create post, and we are supposed to have a handler. Okay, a function handler that will be responsible for doing something whenever we are on that specific route. So here, before we proceed, I'll try to modify this a little bit so that it becomes a little bit easy for us to work with that. Okay, because for now we'll be obliged to export them again and fetch them the other side, yet we can try to change them and say exports dot. Okay, this is all they are supposed to do. So we remove the constant so that it becomes a little bit easy to work with these functions or with these handlers. Okay, exports dot, and here also it's going to be exports dot. Okay, so now after doing that, we go back to our routes. Okay, we leave the controllers, we go back to the routes, and what I'm going to say is constant, and I'll destructure this is going to be equal to require. I'll require now that file. Okay, and to require that file, I'm going to go one level up, and I go in controllers / post. Okay, so now I'm going to fetch the fetch post handler. We're going to have the create post handler, and thirdly we're going to have the edit post handler, and finally delete post handler. Okay, all those controllers, we are requiring them now in this specific file. So all I can do is to just do fetch post handler, and you put a comma. This will be create post handler, and another one, this will be edit post handler. So we continue, this other one will be delete post handler, just like that. So after doing that, all our routes are set. So now we have to go back to app.js, and as the way you see this route here is the same way we have split those routes in different folders. Remember, this part of the route is in the routes part, okay, and this part or the function is in the controllers, okay. So this one is in the controllers folder, and this part is in the routes, this part is in the route folder. So why do we have to split our project like that? We can just stay in app.js and do it that way. Remember, the purpose of doing that is to make the work very easy, so that when you want to go to the controllers, you go to the controllers easily, because these functions can become very big. So if we leave them all, imagine you have 10 routes, you have to work with 10 routes. So if you leave all the 10 routes in the app.js, your file can become very big and it will be very difficult to navigate through your project. But when you slip them like that, it's very easy. It makes it very easy to navigate through your project and know, if I want the controllers, I'll go here. If I want this and this, I'll go the other side. Okay, so that's the purpose of splitting our project like that, because the main aim is to make it very easy to navigate through the project. So I'll delete this, okay, and instead I'm now going to use my route, okay, the route that I have created in this folder. So I'm going to say again app.use. Remember, you have to always use that, app.use. And here the first one, I'm going to say it's going to be create post route. The second one is going to be maybe edit post route, okay, and the third one is going to be delete post route, okay, and the last one is going to be fetch post route. Now there is a question you might ask yourself: why am I putting the fetch route at the end? And this is where I want to require your attention. You see, this fetch route start only with /nothing, okay. So now if you put it at the beginning right here, that means that all other route won't be discovered. Why that? Because the execution code goes from top to bottom. So whenever you send a request, okay, it will start and check. If you have put fetch route here, it will start and check /nothing. And if you see very well, all the routes start with /, okay. That means each request will be starting on / and will never go on these other ones, okay, because remember, it has to match, okay. It goes and see, oh, this match this, okay, that means I have to start on this route. So that means if this route is the first one, all the requests will be stopping here because they all start with /. So when it reaches here, oh, I've seen a /, I can stop here and it fetch all the posts instead maybe of creating a new post. I don't know if you are getting that. That's why you have to be very careful when you are placing your route, okay. You have to place them in the way so that each route gets discovered, okay. So now let's say maybe if your main aim was to get the post or to fetch the post, and that fetch post is at the end, so it will start by /create post. You see they don't match, /edit post they don't match, /delete post they don't match, until it reaches /nothing. That's where they will match and you'll fetch all your posts. I don't know if this notion is being very clear. You have to be very careful with all your routes when you're working with them. You have to place them in the way so that the upper route doesn't stop the down route from being discovered, okay. You have to put them in the way that each route gets discovered at the right moment, okay, so that the upper route doesn't block the down route. That's why I've put this fetch route as it's slash nothing. That's why I've put it at the end, okay, so that we go on slash nothing only and only whenever all other routes don't match. So after doing this, I think we are pretty set. So now it's time to work on our controllers. Okay, now we want to work on the logic of our application. But now, before we proceed with our logic, let's go back to app.js. Okay, app.js. Remember, whenever you send a request to your backend, okay, it will be reaching this file because this is the entry point or the starting point, and it will be going from top to bottom. It finds the route. After finding the route, it goes ahead and finds the controller or the model and all those stuffs. But this is an API, and when you're working with APIs, you are the one who defines which methods are allowed in your API. Okay, maybe let's say you don't want people, or give me a second, you don't want people to post something, okay, using your API. You only want them to get something, not posting. Okay, it's you defining that. And there is what we call CORS. CORS stands for cross origin resource sharing. That means you have to define which methods are allowed to be passed on your API, or which front end or which link is supposed to use your API and all those stuffs. And you have to define that because normally APIs can work with different front end, but the norm for a server is the same server communicate with the same front end. Okay, you get what I'm saying? So here you have to define your own CORS policy, and this is why, let me pop this out and explain it. Before accessing any route, we have to set the headers. Okay, so here we have all these headers, 3 headers. We have access, control, allow, origin, and this is where you define which application can access your API. Let's say if you define here localhost, okay, localhost 3000, that means it's only localhost 3000 that can use this API. But in our case, you're just going to say when you put this star, that means every application can use your API. Okay, but you can specify like this: I want only these websites to use my API. Okay, so we have also access, control, allow methods, and for this time we're going to allow the get, the post, the put, and the delete. But you can say maybe I only want the get. Okay, you only want the get methods to be executed. That means if someone wants to post something or using your API or on your API, that will not going to work. And we also access, control, allow headers. These are the headers we can put on our API, and you can see that when you are on the front end side. Okay, because you have to put the content type, and in the case of the API, the content type is application.json. Maybe if you are working with a React something, you have this content type, you'll specify it in the front end that it's application/json. And we have also authorization, and these are maybe for those public APIs where you have to get the keys and all those stuffs, but this is not the matter for this case. But now this is where the next, okay, this next we have been using right here. Where is it? Give me a sec. In the controllers, this next, this is where it takes shape. Okay, or this is where you see the real meaning of the next. And next, as it says, it goes to the next. That means after doing all this, we go now to the next. We reach now the route. But for these other functions, let's say when you are fetching posts, or let's say when you are creating posts, as is the first one, after reaching this route, it can't go to this other route and execute. Never. It reaches here, executes, and stops. But for this case of setting headers, After setting all the headers, now we say next, go to the next line and execute. Now look for the specific route you are looking for, okay? And that is how the execution code goes. So, and that's the meaning for this next. If we don't put next here, we will never reach these routes, okay? That means each request will only be stopping here and never execute this route. But when you put that next, we specify that after setting or after checking of if all of these are in the request that is coming, now next go to the routes, okay? So after doing that, we won't deal with those course errors, okay? But if you don't specify all these headers, I want to assure you 100% this API will never work in any project or in any application. They'll be telling you there is course policy and all those stuffs. So you always have to specify these. Let's say if it's a very private API, you can specify the front end, okay? We can specify the link or the origin that will use our API, so that even if some other origin try to use up our API, that will never work, okay? So after doing this, now we are good to go, okay? So that means we can go to our controllers and our posts. So now right here we have fetch post handler, and this is going to be, okay, this is a get, okay? This is a get method, because if you go to the routes, you will see that this function will execute only on a get, so we won't pass any data to that. But let me say this post, this create post. Remember, when you're using your front end, a user will type in his blog title, blog content, and sends that using the API, send that to the back end. But remember, that request will hold that data. So now, how does the backend know that there is data, and that data is JSON, and it has to capture that data? For this, there are two ways of doing that. You can either use a package called body parser, okay, and require it. But in this case, we won't use body parser because Express now has its own built-in way of getting JSON data from the request, okay? And you have to put that in your application. You'll say app.json and you call that just this way. So this way you are saying that whenever JSON data comes from the request, capture that JSON data and use it in your application, okay? This is how it's supposed to work. But if you don't specify that, even if the JSON data comes in, it will never execute, or you will never capture that data. So you have 100% specify that the request, if the request holds JSON data, you may be able to capture that JSON data, okay? And we'll talk more about that a little bit later. Oh, and here we have an error, okay? You can see right here there is an error saying app.json is not a function. That is because it's not app.json, but this is express.json, like that, okay? And that's telling this, okay, showing this or putting this middleware will help us capture JSON data from the request. And if you want to upload pictures, there is another package you have to install, and it's called Malter, okay? That will be, because if you specify JSON, that means if your request contains an image data, that image will not be captured, okay? Or it will not be handled properly. It may be captured if you send it in sort of, if you send it in sort of JSON, but it will never be executed as an image. So if you have images, let me say you want to create something like an Instagram on all those stuffs, you have to use Malter, okay? But in this case, we won't use Malter. We are just going to make this API very, very simple. We are only going to use JSON since it's a blog. we assume that it's a blog where you want to be able to post your photos and so on. You are just going to write something, okay? But you can dig a little bit deeper into Malta, okay? But now, as I said, this has to be up here. If you put this express.json after all these routes, I assure you, nothing will work, because you will capture you will capture the JSON after passing the route, okay? And that doesn't make any sense, okay? When a request comes in, you first want to capture the JSON, okay, that is in the request, and use that in your routes, not after. All right, so after doing this, now we are good to go. We can start working on our controllers, especially for the fetch post handler, okay? Because this is going to be the first thing we do on a blog. When you visit a blog, you first of all want to fetch all the blogs that are already on that specific website, okay? So now here, all we are going to do is to say constant, okay? We're going to have constant, maybe title. Let's say a blog has a title, and this is going to be request.title, and that title will come in form of JSON, okay? So next, we're going to have maybe const content, and this will be request.body.content, and up here I forgot to put body, so it can't be request.title, it's either request.body.title. But now there is what we call request.params, okay? You can have request.params.title. Now params means, let me go to the routes, okay? Let's say create post, let's say edit post. Maybe if you say you only want to execute on your own /edit/post id, okay, a specific post id. So here, when you want to get this post id, you can't say request.body.post id, because this post id won't come in the body, but it will come in the params, okay? Or let me say it will come in the URL. So params will also look in your URL to get the post id, but body will only look in the body of the request, okay? You have to be careful about that. So if you don't say this, maybe your post id, in this case the post id will come in the body request, okay? From the front end, it will come from the body, not the parameters. So it depends on your business logic or your development logic. If in your front end you'll be putting that post id in the URL, in the back end you'll say request.params. If you'll be putting that in the body of the request, in your back end you have to say request.body. That's why if you are creating a public API, you have to document it very well, so that the users of your API know how to do or where to place their request data, so that it gets captured by the back end the way it's supposed to be, okay? So now here we have title and content. No, this is fetch handler, sorry. Fetch handler will just be empty. So all you're going to do is to get posts from DB, and DB stands for database, then send to front end, okay? Send to front end in form of JSON, okay? In form of JSON. So now here we can't continue without accessing the database. So the next step, we are first going to access the database, okay? And in this particular case we're going to use MongoDB, and we'll create the models so that we can proceed with that easily. So for this, we are not going to use MongoDB straightly. We are going to use a package called Mongoose, okay, that will help us work with MongoDB very easily. So Here we go back to our terminal, and I'll say npm, I'll say npm, give me a sec. I'll say, okay, let me first clear this. I'll say npm install mongoose, and mongoose is the package that we are going to use to speed up the development process. Okay, you wait a second so that it installs. Then after that we are going to proceed. Here in the models folder, we are going to create again 2 files. Okay, we are going to have one file for the user, okay, and another file, the second file is going to be for the post, okay, for the post itself. So after doing this, first step, I'm going to say const mongoose, okay, const mongoose is going to be equal to require mongoose, and there we have a typo because we have put 2s. Const mongoose is going to be equal to require mongoose, just like this. Okay, so after doing that, the rest I'm going to just pop it in so that we save some time, but I will explain how it works. Okay, so here all I've done is creating the post schema. Okay, so you say mongoose.schema, you create the post, and this post will have a title and a comment, as I said it before. Those are the only 2 parts that are going to be available for that schema, or that are going to be stored in the database. And as I said, you can expand this API and add maybe comments and all those, and likes and all those stuffs. But for now, we're just going to put title and content. Okay, and the title is going to be a string and it will be required. We also have the content, and that is also going to be a string and required. Okay, so the rest will have a timestamp, okay, created at, updated at, and all those stuffs. So at the end, you export that and say mongoose.model post. Okay, this is going to be responsible for creating that, creating that in mongodb. Okay, so we are going to have that collection of posts, and that now we also add the second parameter is that post that we have just created. So now the second step, we are going back here to post. Okay, in models we go back to post, sorry, not in model but in controllers we go back to post, and the first thing we are going to do here is to import, okay, to import that model. So here I'm going to say const post, just like this, is going to be equal to require. We are going to require that just from one level up, and we go to models. Then inside of the models, we go one level up, then we go to models, then we select the post, just like that. Okay, in that case we are going to have access to that, so that here all I'm going to say is post, or let me just put a capital P. Okay, just put a capital P. Then here I'm going to say post dot. So if I want to select all the posts, I'll say post.find. Okay, find. Then after that, this is a method. Okay, so after doing this, we'll have a then. Okay, then after getting the result, and this I put it on the second line, then result, and that result, all I'm going to do is to say, now I want to send the result as a result. What do I mean by that? Let me do this so that I don't confuse you. Okay, so the result that I get after finding all the posts, I'm going to say now res dot, remember this res is the one responsible for sending back the result, res dot status, and the status here is 200 to say that this has succeeded, dot json, res.status.json, and the result we are going to send back is message. Okay, or let me say now, as it's a blog, I'll say posts. Okay, all the posts are going to be equal to the result that we get back from here after finding them from, after finding them in the database. So this is one of the simplest things we can do. But now we don't have any, we don't have any database. Okay, so before I create a database, all I'm going to do here is to first say const mongoose is going to be equal to require. I'm going to require mongoose just like this. So now why do I need to require mongoose here? Because I'm going to use it. Okay, so before I start my server, I need to make sure that I have access to my database. Okay, because it doesn't make sense that I access my server when my database is off. Okay, that means if my database is off, I won't be able to get any result and all those stuffs. So I want to first make sure that I have access to my database so that I spin up my server knowing that I have access to my database. And to do this, I'll say mongoose.connect. We have .connect, and this one will take in the URL. It will take in the URL to my database, and we are going to look for the database in a minute. We are going to create a database, a MongoDB database. So I'll say then, okay, if I get the result, only if I get the result, just like this result, that's the time. Or let me say, instead of result, I'll say connection. Okay, only if I get a connection, that when I want to spin up my server. Okay, just this way, I spin up my server. But if I get an error, okay, sorry, give me a second. If I get an error, I'll say catch. I catch the error, and for the error now, I will just say console.log. I just log the error in my console. Okay, because I don't have any error handling for this, up until this point. And as you can see, directly we see invalid connection string, and that's the error that is being logged in the console. And connection string means the connection to my database. So as you can guess, next step, we are now going to create a database using MongoDB, a MongoDB database. So for that, let me go back to my browser. Okay, so here we go. To use MongoDB, first of all, you need to have an account. So if you don't have any account, you'll need to log in. So in my case, I already have an account. That's why I have a different, this is showing a different thing. So here I'm going to go and create new project. Okay, and project name, this is going to be blog API, just like this. I click on next. Okay, so add members, project owner. Yeah, I just click on create project. So this will take a couple of seconds. Wait for it. Wait for it. It's coming. Okay, so now you see create a database. Okay, so to do this, I'll just say build a database, and we have some plans. Okay, we have these paying plans, but for us, as it's just for demo purpose, we're going to have a free plan, and this gives you 500 MBs. So I'll just click on this. So wait a minute. You can leave the rest of the settings as they are. Okay, or you can choose another, you can choose another region. You can choose AWS, GCP, or Azure, and all those stuffs. But for us, we are going to leave the rest as they are. And here we have cluster name. The rest can really stay like that. So you click on create cluster. Wait a minute. And this is now spinning up our database, and it may take a couple of seconds. So you're going to wait for it to finish before we proceed. Okay, so wait for it. Or actually, instead of waiting for it, in the same time, we can be getting our URI. Okay, our URL for this database. So while waiting for the connection, we can set up other settings right here. So we are going to go to database access. Okay, so you have here create a database user. Okay, I can add a user right here, and this is going to be here I'm going to auto generate the passcode. Okay, and I copy that. So next step, we are going to create a user. I'm going just to say Murdy, just like that. That's going to be my user, okay, and that's me. And I click on add user, but you have to copy that. You have to copy your code, okay. So we have the user. He has a read write to the database. He's the admin, and he has access to all the resources, okay. And that auto-generated passcode, we are going to use it in our code. So make sure you copy that, and you can come maybe to your Visual Studio Code and paste that somewhere in form of, let me just paste it down here in form of comment, okay, because we are going to use it sometimes later. And you have to copy your own. This is my own, so if you try to use this, it won't work. So next step, after creating a database user, what I'm going to do next is to come here to network access, okay. And these steps are very crucial. You add an IP address, okay. So now you see here we have allow access from anywhere and add current IP address. So in our case, we don't want to add this and change it later. I'm just going to say allow access from anywhere, so that this can be accessed by anyone, okay. This database can be accessed by anyone from anywhere, okay. Because think about it, the users of your API, if it's a public API, everyone from a different IP access can use it. But if it's not, if it's a private API and you say maybe it can be used by only one computer, you can specify the IP of that computer. So here I want to allow access from anywhere. I just click confirm, okay, and it's being spin up. You see here pending. We are deploying your changes, and I get a message from MongoDB, okay, you've added allow access from anywhere to your network permission list. Okay, so this is also going to take some seconds, so we wait for that. Let's check if our database is already working. Okay, now you see this is now, it has now been spin up. So after this has spinned up, you see this connect button. You click on the connect button and you click here on connect your application. And now we are going to need to grab this password, okay, I mean this URL. You just copy this, you go back now to your Visual Studio Code and put that. As you saw, the error was saying invalid connection string, so you say Ctrl V, you put the connection string. But now you see this place of password, you change this, you remove this, okay, then you put that password, the auto-generated password, okay. Remember, we got that password from our connection, okay. So here I'm just going to put that password there. So after putting the password, so this is like this. After putting the password, I also have to put the database, and this was blog API. I think this was blog API. So after doing that, let's see if the error is gone. So right here, let me restart myself. No, it's restarting automatically. We are using Nodemon. I'd forgotten that we are using Nodemon. So here, after doing that, this should restart, but let me restart the server manually. So I'll say npm start again. Let's give that a try and see if it works. Wait a minute. Our server is spinning up, so we'll be waiting a little bit to see what is going on there. Okay, let's see the error. We get an error here saying password contains unescaped characters. Okay, that is because I had put the 2 dots right here. That's the issue. So it restarts. At this point we should be good to go. And again, you see the console log, okay, server started. That means the connection has been successfully, I mean we have a successful connection, and now the server is starting, and we see the console log that says server started. That means our server is now up and running and we are connected to our MongoDB. Okay, we are connected to MongoDB. But now all I can tell you is, all I can recommend is to download. Now we are going to be downloading two other softwares. We are going to be downloading Compass to see our database locally. We're going to be downloading Compass, and we're also going to be downloading Postman. Okay, Postman is an application where you test your API. Okay, so that's where we're going to be testing the API, because remember, the API doesn't have any interface, so it's not like a front end where you see what you are doing. So to test your API if it's really working, you have to use something like Postman to test the API. So I already have them. If you don't have them, I'll put the link in the description below. You feel free to download them, but me, I already have them, so I'll just pop them out and show you the whole process. Okay, so here we go. This is Postman. Okay, and this is the app. This is what you're going to be using to try our application. Okay, so now let me just remove these. These were other of my project. Okay, so now we're going to have a brand new project, and they say enter request URL, and in our case the request URL is going to be http just http localhost. Give me a second. This is going to be http, then we are going to say localhost 4000. Okay, just like this, http localhost 4000/. Okay, so when you on the slash, remember we had put a get, and this is going to bring back the result, and remember up until this point it's still empty. Okay, so this is not the point here. I was just showing you how Postman look like and all those stuffs. So apart from Postman, you're going to use the Compass for MongoDB. I mean, this is going to be our MongoDB database. This is where we're going to be seeing our posts and all those stuffs. So back to our Visual Studio Code. I'm going to copy this link so that I paste it in our MongoDB Compass. So just say Ctrl+C, then Ctrl+V in our MongoDB Compass. Okay, right here you see there is even paste your connection string, and I'm going to paste my connection string, Ctrl+V, and then I connect. So we give this a second while it's connecting. Okay, now it's loading. Just wait a minute until it finishes. So wait for it. Here we go, and you see right here we have blog API. Okay, and that blog API is now our database. That is, it's going to contain posts. Okay, we already see we have posts and it's empty. We are also going to have another collection for the users. Okay, and this is where we're going to be seeing our data. So in order to start seeing our data, we can't start working on the get method. Okay, here in the controllers, I mean, we can't start on fetch post because there is no post automatically. So what are we going to fetch? So to work with this and see how it's going, I think it's a better idea if we start with create post handler. Okay, I think you all agree with me. So for create post handler, first step, we are going to say const title. Okay, the title is going to come from the request body. Okay, request.body. Remember I explained that we have request params, request and request body. So this is going to be request.body.title. So down here you're going to also have content. Content is going to be equal to request.body.content, just like this. So first thing, I'm going to console log this in my console, and this is not supposed to be like this. This is supposed to be request. This is supposed to be request.body.content. Okay, just like this. So I'm going to log in my console. I'm going to log the title and the content. Okay, so I'm going to say console log title, console log content, just like this, so that we see if that is really coming back as we expect it to come back. Okay, so I'm now going to go to my Postman, and I will go to slash. Let me just check the route. I'm going to go to slash create post, and we're going to post. Okay, so now let me show you how to test your API using Postman. Okay, Postman is right here. So now all you're going to do is to say slash create post, because we said we go to a route called slash create post, and the method is the post method. Okay, we post, and remember we have set the body to be the JSON. Okay, so that means our application will get back the JSON data. Okay, so now here you just have to click on row and click here on text. You see JSON. Okay, and you have to know how JSON data comes back. I mean, how to send JSON data. And JSON data just look like an object, but it has, I mean, all the key and properties have to be, properties and values have to be in quotation marks. So here I'm going to say title. Title is going to be equal to my first title. Okay, I just put it like that. Then here we're going to have the content. Okay, the content is going to be equal to hello world, just like this. Okay, this is a trial. So when you send this, you click on send. Okay, you are not getting anything from the back end. Okay, but now all I can do is to see if this is, I mean, if something is being output in my console, or if something is being printed in my console. So if I come here, you see cannot read property title of undefined. All right, we get our first error. And that's how, and that development, right? You have to get errors and errors, tons of errors. So let's go back to Postman and see what's wrong there, right? So here to Postman, we have our title, that is my first title. Okay, we have the content and it's in JSON. So I mean, what can be the error here? So let's just take a look in a second and find out what's the error here. This says cannot read property of undefined. That means I think the error is coming from app.js, if I'm not mistaken. Right here, yeah, we are supposed to say app.use. Okay, because this is a middleware, so you can't just say express.json, but you have to say that this is supposed to be used. Okay, so you just say app.use express.json. So if you go back to Postman again, when you go back to Postman, you send a request. Okay, when you send a request, you see sending, then you go back to your Visual Studio Code. Okay, you see something, right? You see my first title and hello world. Okay, my first title and hello world. That means all those requests are being sent to my are being handled properly, and that means we can proceed. Okay, so now after getting the title and the content, what do we want to do? Here we are just going to say post dot create. Okay, we have this create function. Okay, and we are going to, and this is supposed to hold an object, and we are going to just say title. Okay, title and content. So title equal title, content equal content equal content. So we say post.create. After creating, you say then. Okay, you say then, so you can send an information to the front end. Then you say then result. After getting the result, you just say results res.status. This is 200. Okay, when this has worked, it 200.json. Okay, res.status 200 JSON, and you put a message again, message, and the message is post created, just like that. So we give this a try. Okay, we send again the same post. Okay, we just go back to Postman. Then this time, if it works, we are going to see a response here in Postman. So we give it a try. So you send. Oh, you see a message, right? Message post created. That means a post has been created. And to prove that a post has been created, let's go to Compass. Okay, you go to Compass, you refresh Compass. You see right now they say the collection has no data. So when you refresh here, you just refresh everything, wait for it, boom, you see the post there. You see it has an ID. Okay, it has a title, my first title. It has a content that says hello world and created at. So after that means the creation of the post is being handled very well and the post has been created. So after this, I think now logically we can try to fetch the posts. Okay, and let's see if we have added already that logic for fetching the post. Give me a sec. We just check right here. We double check. This is fetch handler. We see post.find. Yeah. Then result. Okay, just like this. So now we can also be able to fetch the result. Okay, we fetch the post because now we have created a post. Okay, that means we can fetch also a post because we already have the logic for fetch posts. So to do this, I'll go back to Postman. Okay, and I'll try to create another post. So I'll say my second title. Okay, my second title. So I'll say hello world again, so that we get at least 2 posts. So when I send, you see post created again. That means we have now 2 posts. So now I'm going to try to fetch the post. Remember, to fetch, you go on /nothing, and it's not a post request, it's a get request. So when I send this request, I should hopefully see two posts being okay. They are coming back, right? Let me expand this so that you see it very well. We see 2 posts coming back in form of an array. Okay, so the first post says my first title, the second post says my second title, and already in that way we have created 2 handlers, okay, or 2 functions to handle our API. So the remaining part we are now going to work on how to update, okay, or how to edit a post and how to delete a post. But all these 2 posts are working now. But for now, for the catch part of things, if we get an error, I'm just going to say if you get an error, just console log the error for now. But we will create a function handler for the errors. For now, just console log the error, just like this. Also here, if we get an error, if the result, if it did not succeed, just console log the error that is coming back. Okay, so just say here console.log error, as simple as that, but we'll handle that a little bit later. So now our next step, we are going to edit a post, okay, and delete a post. All right, so let's quickly do that in the next second. So here, to edit a post, we can do it in 2 different ways. Okay, but we are going to be receiving, remember, as you saw there, each element or each post has an ID. Okay, and then the ID will be very, very important to get the specific post that we want to edit. So I'm going to say const ID is going to be equal to request. Now You can either put the ID in the params of the request, or you can put it in the body of the request. So in my case, I'm just going to put that in my body. Okay, so it's going to be request.body.id. That will be the ID. Okay, so now oops, I made an error, a mistake. I'm going to be request.body.id, just like that. So now I'm going again to say post dot find one. Okay, find one and update. Find one and update. There is a method called find one and update. Okay, and this method takes in, okay, it takes in a filter, right? And that filter is going to be ID. We are going to say ID equals, where ID equals ID, just like this, because the ID, that ID is, oh sorry, this is not supposed to be like this, it's supposed to be like this. So we say underscore ID, find in the database where underscore ID is equal to the ID we get from the request. And you can ask yourself, why underscore ID? And let me show you why I'm putting expressly underscore ID. We go back to compass. Okay, right here you see we have this ID is underscore ID, so you have to put it exactly how it's supposed to be put right there. You see it's underscore ID. Okay, so after doing that, just right here you say then. Okay, you say then we are going to handle the then part of this, but for now, first understand how we get the ID and all those stuffs, and now we are going to handle the logic of updating that specific post of that ID. Okay, and we'll do that in a second. Yeah, so this function, the find one and update, takes in 3 parameters. Okay, it takes in the filter. After the filter, it takes in another object, and the object is going to be the update. Okay, so let's say you got the ID and then the update. Okay, you say title is going to be equal to request.body.title, because you're going to update the whole object. Okay, so this is request.body.title, just like this, and you have content is going to be equal to request.body.content, just like this. So here the filter, we are going to say title. Okay, title and content, but this is the shortcut. Okay, because if the property and the value, they're written the same way, you can omit them, because basically this is how we are supposed to type it, right? Title equal title, then content equal content. Okay, but this looks like a repetition, right? Then JavaScript ES6 has offered us a new way where you can omit the second. If they are written exactly the same way, you can simply say title and content. Okay, hope you get that. So the last part of this, the last argument is really important. Okay, and you have to say new, and this is supposed to be true, so that fetch event happens, not the fetch, but that change event, that update event happens and returns that element. Imagine you're updating a blog, you need to see your update, right? After updating, you need to see the update directly. That way you have to say new true. That means you have to fetch it. Okay, you have to merge it. All right, so after doing this, we'll say then. Again, in the then, we'll get a result. Okay, we'll get a result. Then in this result, I'm just going to say res.status, and again the status is 200 to say that it has succeeded. Then JSON, just like this, and this JSON are going to be to get the message, and the message is going to be the result, and this result will be the updated post. Okay, and we'll just send that back to the front end just like that. So let's try to see if this works. Okay, so before we check that, I'm just going to add a catch, and remember, as I said, we are going to handle the errors later, but for now we are just going to say console.log error, and we'll handle all those errors later on, don't worry. So after doing this, the edit posts, let's try now if that is working. Okay, we go back to Postman, I mean not to Compass but to Postman. Postman is just right here. After going back to Postman, all we are going to do, remember, to edit the article, we have said it's a post method. Okay, and the route I think it's edit, I don't know, the route is edit post. Okay, and you have to respect the route /edit post, because if you don't specify the route, or if you don't write it the way it's supposed to be written, you will not get the the result you want. Okay, so here I'm going to first put the ID. Okay, and the ID is going to be the ID of the post. All right, so let me just grab this ID of my first, this ID right here of my first title, Control C, I copy that right there. That's the ID, right? That means this title is going to change, and the modification, I'll just put 2 exclamation marks. So if I send this, wait for it, you see we are getting back that has changed, and we are getting my second title with 2 exclamation marks. Or I can try to change it again and say my first title but with exclamation mark. I send, I get it back, my first title, and as you can tell, the ID has not changed, but we see my first title with 2 exclamation marks being that is what is coming back from the API. That means the edit post is also working as we want it to work. Okay, so after doing that, we are really doing very well with this API build. So the next step, we are now going to delete a post. Okay, we are now going to add the logic for deleting a post, because sometimes we want to delete our own post blog and all those stuffs. So let's implement that logic so that we go to the next part. So back to our Visual Studio Code, we are going to handle this delete post handler. Okay, so for that, I'll just say const id again. Okay, const id is going to be equal to request.body.id, just like this. Sorry, give me a sec. This is equal to request.body.id. Okay, so I'm just going to say next. I'll say post dot find one and delete, and this method returns the element how it was before deletion. Okay, so I'm just going to put I'm going to put the filter. Okay, the filter, I'm going to say ID. You find the element which ID is equal to ID to other ID we get from the request body. So after finding that and delete it, you say then I'll just put this on the next line. Then the result we get, this result is going to be the post how it was before deletion. Okay, so I'm just going to say res.status .status 200 to tell you that that deletion process has succeeded. .json. Now I'm going to return the JSON, and this will be message result. Okay, so the only remaining part is to give this a try. Okay, so let's quickly give that a try. Let's wait for our server to restart properly. Give it a second. Okay, our server has restarted properly. So The only part remaining is to go back to Postman. Okay, we're here, we are in Postman. So let me first see how many posts we have. Okay, so this is you get on /send. Okay, so right now we only have 2 posts, and I want to delete the first post. Okay, and to delete post, it's a post method and this is going to be equal to delete post. Okay, /delete post, and this requires only the id. So I will remove title and content, and if you check very well, this id is the same id as the first element of the post array. So if I send a request there, you see they bring back the element, okay, my first title, but they bring back the element. That means this element that has been brought back has been deleted from my database. So now if I try again to get, okay, to get all the elements that are in a database, you'll only see 1 post, and this is the 1 post we see, and it's the second post. And to confirm that, let me just go to my compass. Okay, so I go to compass and I refresh. You will see my second title being the only element in our in our database. That means everything is working very well. All our handlers, okay, all our handlers we have defined are working very well. So guys, I think you have hit a big milestone for creating all the routes and all the middlewares for the post. Okay, so the next step here, we are going to handle all the requests for the user. That means we are going to have a sign up user and a sign in user. So let's quickly head over in that, and here in my routes, I'll first create those 2 routes. Okay, you see for the post we have created all the routes. So now for the user, I'm also going to first require express. Okay, const express equal require. I'm going to first require express. So after requiring express, I'm going to say const router, just like this, is going to be equal to express.router. Okay, so now I'll have a constant that will be const sign up route. Okay, and this is also going to be equal to router.post to slash, we are going to post to /sign up. Okay, and we are going to create a middleware that will be handled there. So next we are going to say const sign in route, just like this, is going to be equal to router dot it's also going to be a post method, and here we're going to post to /sign in, just like this. Okay, those are the two routes that you're going to handle. So now going back to my controllers. Okay, I'll just have here, I'll have exports dot sign up handler, and this is going to be equal to request result and next. And again, you can omit the next, but I just want to put it there to specify that it's there. So again, exports dot sign in handler, just like this. Sign in handler is also going to be equal to request result and next, and we are going to do the same thing. But now, before we sign up a user or we sign in a user, we'll again need MongoDB. So we are going to our models. So instead of going to the model of the post, now I'm going to the model of the user. Okay, and first step, I'm going to say const mongoose is going to be equal to require mongoose, just like this. Okay, so down here I'm going to say const user is going to be equal to mongoose dot schema. Okay, mongoose dot schema, and this is going to hold an object. So this object will have, first step will have a name. So for a user, we are only going to have a name. Okay, we're going to have the name, the email, and the password. Those are the three things we are going to have. So here we're going to have name. The name is going to have the name is going to be of type. The type is going to be string, but let me pop this out. Okay, let me just copy and paste it just like this. Okay, we'll have the name is going to be string, true. The email is also a string, and the password is also a string. So now here I'm going to just say module dot export. This is going to be equal to mongoose dot it's not schema, but this will be, I forgot a bit, model. That will be model. And these things happens, guys, everyone can forget. Okay, it's just normal. User, and it's going to be here user, just like this. So that way we have defined a model. We have defined a model for a user. So I can go back to my user controller, just like this. And first step, I import that. Okay, user just here is going to be equal to require. We're going to require the user from, I think, one level up. Yeah, one level up. This is in models / user, just like this. So the Signup Handler, as you can guess, and as you saw the model, we are going to have a name. This is going to come from request.body.name, just like this. Oh, sorry, this is a mistake. It's going to come from request.body.name. Okay, that will be the name, and const email will come from request.body.email. Then we'll have const password. Password is going to be equal to request.body.password. Okay, but you can also add a confirm password depending on how you are building your application. You can add a confirm password only for the purpose of confirming that the password and the confirm password are the same. But for this case, I won't add that. So I'll make it as simple as it is, but make sure that you can, just be aware that you can also add that, because in some application, when you enter on some web application, you see there is password and confirm password. The confirm password is not stored in the database, is only there for the purpose of assuming that the user has put in the same password for password and confirm password, so that you be sure that the user has entered the password he wanted to enter, right? But we won't do that in this case. So after getting the email, the name, email, and password, all you are going to do is to say user.create. Okay, we are going to create a user. Okay, and this will take in an object, and that object again will have name, email, and password. Okay, name, email, and password. But here we are dealing with user's password, so we can't just store the password as it is. Okay, because you don't want to know your user's password. It's really, it can't be done in real world. So all we do in most of the case, we hash the password. Okay, and the password is a series of strings, and all those combination that store a password, because you can't store a user's password just like that. It's really impossible, and it can't be done in real world. So what we do, we are going to install another package for hashing the password. Okay, for hashing the user's password. And all we are going to install here, we are going to install Bcrypt. It's called Bcryptjs. Yeah, I think it's called Bcryptjs. So I'll say npm install Bcryptjs, just like this. So wait for it to install. It will take a couple of seconds. So what's the purpose of Bcryptjs? Basically, Bcryptjs takes in the user's password, okay, and hash that password so that it creates an undecryptable password. Okay, it creates an undecryptable password that you can store in your database. Okay, because if you store the password of the user in the database, someone can access your database and steal your user's credentials and all those stuffs. That's why you never want to store the user's password in your database, and that's why we use Bcrypt for. Okay, so here, going back to Visual Studio Code, I'm going to require Bcrypt here. So I'll say here const Bcrypt is going to be equal to require, just like this. So you're going to require Bcrypt in this way. Okay, so now all I'm going to do is now to use Bcrypt to hash the password before we store that in the database. Okay, so we'll first hash the password, then we will store the hashed password in the database. So we are going to do this in a second. So now how to use the Bcrypt package. So this is how we do it. You say bcrypt.hash, okay, to hash the password. And this is a function that takes in two parameters. The first parameter is the plain password, and the second parameter is the the length of the hashed password. Okay, and we are going to say here password, the password we get. Then after that password, the second is going to be 12. Okay, we want it to be 12 characters. So after hashing, there is a then. We change a then keyword. Okay, because that's a promise. So we have a then we get the hash. Okay, we get the hashed password now. And for now, let me just console.log the hashed password so that you see how it looks like. Okay, and that is what is going to be stored in the database. So we give this a try, and here we go back to Postman. That's what we have to do. We go back to Postman, and here we go to /signup, and it's a post method. So it's a post method to /signup, just like this. So we are going to have here, we are going to have name. The name is going to be equal to Murray. This is my name. So apart from that, we are going to have the email. Remember, user will have a name, an email, and a password. So email is going to be here mm@mm.com. It's just a random email. So and here we are going to have now the password, and my password is going to be, let me just say a. That's the password. Okay, so now when I send a request, if you come back here and you see app started, so we have sign up. Give me a second. I just need to go back to Visual Studio Code. Okay, we have this sign up handler, but before we even post, we have to go back to our routes and put our functions here, because up until this point we have not put those functions there. Okay, so here we're going to do destructuring. This is going to be equal to require. Just give me a second. This is going to be equal to require, and we're going to require that from one step above, I think, one folder above, and this is going to be in the controllers /user /controllers/user. So we are going to get the sign up, we are going to get the sign in handler and the sign up handler, just like that. So here I'm going to put here sign up handler. My computer is slowing down, I don't know why, but anyway, it won't stop us. We have sign up handler, and here we're going to have sign in. We're going to have sign in handler, just like this. So that way it's going to work now. Let's wait for the server to restart properly. Okay, then after that we are going to redo the same process. So we just wait a second until we see the first console log server started. So that means this way we are good to go. So if I resend back, I just send this. Okay, and then we go back to our, sorry, give me a second, I just need to go back to Visual Studio Code. Then here, oh we need to do one more step. Okay, and this is going to be equal to module.export. This is the step we forgot to add, and we're going to export those routes. Okay, we have the sign up route, we have the sign up route, we have the sign up route, and the sign in and the sign in route, just like this. Then after doing that, or I mean after exporting them, we need to import them from app.js. So I'll just come down here and say const. I'll also destructure here, and this is I'm going to require this from routes again. Oh, this is in the same folder, so I'm going to require route slash user. Okay, so I'm going to pull in sign in and sign up, sign in route and sign up route. After pulling them, I'll just come and use them right here. Okay, and make sure the fetch post is still the last route. So I'm going to have app.use. This is going to be sign in, sign up route, or sign in, it doesn't matter. App.use, this is going to be now sign in. Give me a second while it reloads. This is going to be sign in routes, just like this. So now we wait for our server to restart. Okay, when it restarts, we are going to go to Postman and try to send a request again. Okay, so the server started. So now next step, I'm going back to Postman and I try to send a request. Okay, so right now we should see the hashed password if we did everything very well. And here you see user is not defined. Okay, and this error is coming from controllers, line 16. Oh, okay, they say user is not defined. But let me first comment this, because for now we don't need this right here. For now we just need to see the hashed password, okay, and see if that hash is working. So let's wait for the server to restart so that we retry and try to send a new request. Okay, the server has started. So now we are going to send a new request. I just click on send. Okay, so if you come back, just give me a second, I come back to Visual Studio Code. You see, this is now the password. Okay, it has been hashed. Imagine we pass from AAAA to this long password. Okay, you see how secure Bcrypt is. So if you ever think that even the people who develop the application know your password, just be sure that they all know your password. This is all they store in their databases, so that even if a hacker tries to enter their database, this is all he's going to see. Okay, and he's not going to see your real password. So and this is what we want to store in the database instead of storing the real password. Okay, like the password the user has typed in, instead of storing that in the database, we have to put an extra layer of security and encrypt that password and turn it into something like this. So only if that has succeeded, that when we want to create a user, right? That's when we want to create a user. So I'll just put this here, and oops, just a minute. So instead of saying hash, I'm going to say again password, okay, so that I make it very easy for me. So I'm going to say user dot create, and we're going to create a user. And remember, you have to pass in an object, so it's going to be name. This is going to be name, email, and password. And the password now is this password that has been hashed right here. Okay, so after doing that, we are good to go, right? We have created the user. So after creating the user, I'm going to chain another then, because creating a user is also a promise. I'm going to chain another then, and this then shouldn't complicate you a lot. Okay, so I'm going to say then result. So if I get the result there, that means the user have been successfully stored. I'm going to say console. Sorry, I'm going to say res.status 200 because it's a success, and I'm going to say Json. I'm going to pass in a message, and I'll say message. This is going to be user has successfully been signed up. Okay, something like that. Signed, or let me just say signed. Okay, so if this creating user fail, I'll have a catch. So I'll catch an error, and for now the error, I'm just going to log that in my console.log error. Okay, just as simple as that. So apart from that, another thing you're going to do is this then. If it fails to hash the password, okay, sometimes it might fail, though the chances are really small, but it can fail. So you have to prepare for that scenario. So for now, I'll just console log again, because we are going to handle all the errors at the end. I mean, after handling all the middlewares, that when we are going to handle all the errors. So after doing this, we should try now to sign in a user, or to sign up a user. Okay, if I go back to Postman, just like this, I tried to sign up a new user. This same user, I tried to sign the user up. When I send, wait for it, you see user has successfully been signed. And if you go to your compass, you will see a new, and you'll see a new collection down post. If I refresh, just see, wait a minute, it's right here. We see we now have posts and users. And if you click on that users collection, you are going to see Murdy mm at mm.com, and the password is now this long password. Yet in Postman, the password I've entered in is this short password right here. You see it's a right here, it's a, but it has been hashed and stored. That means we are successfully creating a user. Now the remaining part, the last part, is signing a user in. And to sign a user in, you have to first confirm that the password, that the email is there, and the password is also there, or the password is the correct password associated to that email. So let's handle that in a second. I go back to Visual Studio Code, and all I'm going to do here is to say const we are going to be signing a user in using their email and password. So I'll say const email is going to be equal to request.body dot email. Okay, shit, this is my emmet disturbing me a lot. Request dot body dot email, just like this, and we'll have constant password. This is going to be equal to request dot body dot password, just like this. Okay, so after getting all those two elements, now dot password. So now the next step is going to be, we go again to user. Okay, we go check in our database. I'll say user dot find one. Okay, so just give me a second. Yeah, it's user, just like that. So user find one, and we're going to find only one user, where that user's email is equal to the email we get from the front end. Okay, so now after saying that, let's say this find one succeed and we find a user, we chain a then. Okay, we chain a then, and this then is going to say then user. Now we get that user. Okay, and after getting the user, all you're going to do is to use again Bcrypt. Okay, because remember, the password is crypted. The password that we get from this user, okay, is crypted, but this password we get from the request is not crypted. Now Bcrypt has another method that helps us compare those two passwords if they match. Okay, so, and this is bcrypt.compare. So to compare, you need to put in your hashed email. Okay, so I'm going to say your hashed password, user.password. Okay, user.password, just like this. Then the second one will be now the password that we get. The second one will be the password that we get from the front end. Oh, actually, I've misplaced them. The first one is going to be the password that we get from the front end. Then we compare that with the password that we get from the database. Okay, so now here we have then. We have a then. We are going to chain a then because it's asynchronous. So we have to chain. It's a promise, so we have to chain a then. Or instead of chaining a then, we are going to add a callback. Okay, we're going to add a function here, the third function. This function takes in an error or a success. Okay, error or success. So if these passwords don't match, we get an error. If they match, we get a success. Okay, so now I'm going to say if success. Okay, if that has succeeded, we now need to say rest.status 200 to say that this has succeeded. And Json, I'm going to say I can pass in a message. Okay, and say sign in user. Maybe it depends on you, like the message you want to enter depends on you. You can say sign in user. So else, if there is an error, I'm going to say console.log error, just like this. Okay, so now after doing this, I think we are good to go. So what you are going to do next after doing that step, we are just going to go back to Postman and try this. Okay, so we go back here to Postman. So instead of going to /signup, we go to /sign in. Okay, we go to /sign in, and I remove my name. Okay, I remove name here, so I put the right email and the right password. And if I try to send, we see if we get the result. Oh, they say cannot post to sign in. This is sign in, not sign in. It was a mistake from my side. So I tried to post again. You see, this is taking long. Is it going to succeed? Oh, we get an error. They say illegal argument string undefined. Okay. That's the error in Visual Studio Code. They say illegal argument. So we go back here and we try to see what we are not doing right here. And let me just double check. Something here. And I think we have misplaced these two. So I think this is the one that is supposed to be user.password. Then the second one, oh no, the error is not there. I've seen where the error is. I had put 3s right here, so it was to be user.password, not user.password. All right, so we give it another try and see if it's really going to work. Wait for the server to start. Okay, the server started. That means we can now go back. We can go back to Postman and give that a try to see if that will result of something. Okay, I try to send again. We cross fingers. Okay, we get a message back, sign in user. That means all the tests have passed. Okay, so but let me try to change the password and put a wrong password. Okay, I've deleted one A. That means for that specific email, that password will be false. So I tried to send again. Let's see what is coming back. And here I said, if there is an error, I'm just going to console log the error. And you see here it's console log null. So let me change this. Okay, actually, and say, if this fail, Ctrl C, Ctrl V, I'll put a 500 error, and I'm going to say unable. I'm going to say password, yeah, because it's in Bcrypt. Passwords passwords did not match. Okay, password incorrect. Just let me put a simple message, password incorrect. So now I'll go back and try that again and see what we're going to get back. Okay, and I'll put the same false password. Just okay, this is, I was not showing my screen, my bad. I've just changed the result. I mean, in the else statement, instead of console log, I have just put some result message. Okay, so if we go back to Postman, I tried to send the same wrong password. Okay, let's wait for the answer. You see, message password incorrect. That means it's really working very nice. So if I add the A that I've removed, you'll see sign in user. Let's wait for it. You see sign in user, and in this way we have handled all the middleware or all the routes, and they are all working in a nice way. But still, at this moment, we are not really done with an API, because let's imagine the request.body, that maybe name, that email is empty. Up until this point, we have not yet added a logic to check if the request, or if the request is empty, so that we don't add we don't add empty entries to our database. So next step, we are going to add some logic to first check if the request matches, if the JSON that comes from the request matches our need. Okay, in some cases we are going to add logic like password should be at least 5 characters long, email should not be empty, and all those stuffs. Okay, because we have to polish the data before we store that in our database. We don't want to have empty entries. So next step, we are going to handle all that logic for checking for checking the request. Okay, for checking for the request body, so that we store something useful in our database. So that's enough of a talk. Let's quickly jump into that. For this case, you're going to install a new package, okay, and this package is called Express-validator. Okay, so I'm just going to say npm e Express-validator, and that's the package you're going to install to help us validate the request that comes in, so that maybe for the email we first get sure that it's real an email, or for the password we make sure the length is the length we want, and all those stuffs. So after installing that package, I just go back to Visual Studio Code, and I go to routes. I start with routes and maybe users. So here I'm going to say const, and I'll destructure this is going to be equal to require. I'm going to require Express-validator, just like this, and here I'm going to require the body, or maybe I will go to Express-validator / something. Yeah, I think no, it's I just need to destructure this, but I don't know why it's not coming out. Yeah, it's there. Okay, so all I'm going to do is to add an array here. Okay, to add an array of validator, and I'm just going to copy that right there like that. Okay, so now for the user, all we need to check is if the email is an email and the password. So I'll just check both sides. Okay, I'll just check for the post and for the sign up and for the sign in. So these are the messages we're going to be bringing back if there is an error. Okay, so also for the post, I'll be checking the length. Okay, the length of the post, so that we check if those are not empty. Okay, so this is going to be not for the get, not for this. No, for the posts it's not that necessary. Okay, that can be handled on the front end, but for the users it was really necessary to do that. Okay, because you always have to check both on the front end, but that's optional, but on the back end it's a must. You need to check the user input. So after doing this, I'll first go back to user. Okay, I'll go back to user, not in models but in controllers. I'll go back to user. Here when I sign in a user, right here when I sign in a user, before even I start hashing the password, okay, I first need to check if that user's email doesn't exist if that user's email doesn't exist already in my database. Okay, so I'm just going to say find one, post find one. This is not post, sorry, this is user dot find one. I'll just try to find one user. So this is going to be like this. Then I'll just chain a then keyword. So give me a sec. I'll say then user, just like this. If there is a user, okay, I'll just check if there is a user. I'll say return. I'll just say return results.status. Result.status. I don't know if this is going to be a 400 or 500, I don't know, but I'll just put the status.json. Okay, I'll put a message. This is going to be an object. I'll just put a message, and I'll say email already exists. Just as simple as that. Email already exists, and we get out of this function. But if and only if there is no user, okay, that when we can continue with this remaining part. So I'll just copy that. After copying this part, I'm just going to put it down here. Okay, Control V, because if there is a user, it's going to return, so we're not going to reach this other part. But if there is no user, we'll just continue with that remaining part of that build there. Okay, so now here, okay, user, if you find user, then also here to user, if I'm just going to say if there is no user, if we don't find a user with that email, all I can do is to return result.status maybe 400. I think it's maybe a 400. Okay, let me just try a 400 dot status, sorry, dot json. So the JSON here, I'm going to say message, and the message I want to pass, in this case, I'll say user not found. User not found, just like that. Okay, I want to make it that simple. So after there, if there is a user, we bcrypt and we compare the password. That was an extra security layer we can add there, or an extra checkpoint for the user. So for the post, the rest is, the rest is really normal. For the post, it can continue as it is. So after doing this, we now need, okay, like for the user, where we have used the Express-validator, okay, we now need to go back to the handler of the user and add in we need to add in the validation result. Okay, and the validation result will be picking the error whenever one of the body check did not pass. Okay, so what do I mean by the body check? By body check, all I mean is, you see right here in the routes user, we see with message, these are the errors. Okay, so if this is not an email, we are going to say enter a valid email, and if the password is not 5 character long, so we're going to do that. So doing this, simply check, but you need to add in your controllers, you need to add an extra, you need to add an extra piece of code that will be the validation result. Okay, so that we handle the result whenever the result come in. So after doing that, all I'm going to do is to say here in user controllers, I'm going to say const, and I will destructure this, and this is going to be equal to require. This will be require Express-validator, just like this. So the validation that will be required here, it's going to be validation result. Wait a minute. Validation result. So here, before we even try to find a user, I'm going to pop this up. So we are going to say errors is going to be validation result of the request. Okay, so if that is not empty, if there is an error, you simply need to return that error. Okay, as you can see here, we set that like this, and we put the return keyword so that we don't continue. So you may ask yourself, what are going to be the errors that can pop up? And those errors that can pop up in this case are going to be these errors we have defined right here. Okay, if maybe you have not put in the email, you're going to see enter a valid email and all those stuffs. Okay, so let's just try that and see if it really works. So we go back to Postman, we just go back to Postman, and all I'm going to do, just give me a second, I just need to pop up Postman again. Okay, our Postman is back and running. So we are just going to try to sign in a user, but now we are going to check if our validation error is working. So this is going to be the post, the body is going to be here, but now I'm going to put, this is not an email, just mm.com, that is not an email. So if I try to send a request, hopefully we should see an error coming back. They say a message, user not found. Okay, user not found, but I don't think, okay, let me just remove the dot, because that now won't be an email. So I try that again. We see if it's, oh, but it's not working. Okay, that means there is somewhere where there is an error. So let's try to debug this and try to see what's going on here. Why they are saying user not found instead of outputting the errors. So let's quickly debug this. Give me a second. They're saying user not found. Let me check if I had put the validation error to the sign in. Yeah, I had put it. So let me go to the controller. I'm trying to sign in a user and they're saying user not found. Okay, there is no user with that email, user not found. But before that, we have to see the validation error, because this shouldn't be empty, because that is not an email. Okay, I have entered something that is not an email, but my validation, error validation is not working. So let me try to see that where it's messing up. Let me just give me a second. Validation result. Okay, let me first try to console log the errors. Okay, I just console log the errors like this. Email, just a minute, I double check something. It's also email here, also email. Okay, so let me try to debug this. And this is why I like to do the debugging when people are seeing, because okay, most of the tutorial on the internet, they only show us where they succeed, but they don't show how they debug or how they run into bugs and all those stuffs. That's why I always want to include my bugs in my tutorial, so that we see how the debugging can be done. Okay, let me try to send a request again. Let me just double check that I'm sending a request to the right /signin posts email and password. Okay, let me try. I tried to send a request, so let me try and see in the console. Okay, interesting. We are not seeing anything in the console. That means we have a small error somewhere. Let me try to send a request again. They tell us user not found, but console log is not working, so we are not seeing anything output in the console. That's strange. But anyway, let me try to console log just a simple string. Server starting. Let's wait for the server to start. Okay, the server has started, so I can send again a request. I just send a request. And now let me check my console. My console is not working. Okay, let me try to restart the server to double check if the error is not coming from the server. Since I've installed a new dependency or a new package, I may try to run the server again. Npm start, and we double check if the error is not coming from there. So wait for it. Wait until the server has started again, so that we can retry the same procedure. So this is going to take a second. Wait for it. Wait, starting server. Okay, so the server is up and running. So I'll just go back to Postman and try to send a request. Okay, still the same. Let me just see if there is something output here. Okay, now we are having a big error. I don't know why we're not seeing any console log. Okay, let me try to add another console log right here just to double check password to see if that at least that will be logged in my console, right? Because I need to see something being logged so that I be sure that this is all working just fine. So let's wait for it. Let's wait for the server to restart. A minute. It's taking long to okay, the server is up and running. So I just need to go back and send another request. Click on send. Okay, user not found again. Then I just need to go back here. This is strange. There is nothing being output in my console. Oh, I see the error I made. I see. This is all not supposed to be here. This is supposed to be in sign in. Okay, that can stay there, but I need to copy this whole thing, Control C, and put that in sign in also, because it was not in sign in. That's the error I made. Okay. Oh, so guys, that's how you can debug. We all make those small errors, but at the end of the day, you need to be smart to recover from that error instead of giving up. Okay, so let's give it another try and see. Hopefully it's going to work. Yeah, this time around I'm confident that it's going to work. So the server is up and running. Okay, so I just need to go back to Postman and I tried to send, okay, with this is not an email, so I'm trying to see if my validation result is working. Okay, now you see the same error, enter a valid email, and this is coming from right here. Let me show you where it's coming from. Now it's all up and running and working, guys. This is insane. You see, this is the with message, enter a valid email. Okay, so oops, my PC is running off. Just a second, I plug it in. Oh, nice. So as I was saying, this is working. Okay, the validation. So let's try to see if also the password side is working, right? So here I'm just going to go back to Postman. Okay, I put back my real email, okay, the normal email, but these are 5 characters. I just remove 1 character. Now there are 4 characters. So I try to send again. You see, password should be at least 5 characters long. That means my validation, my express validator, is working the way I expect it to work. But if I put the real credentials and I try to send, you see user signed. Let's wait for it. Okay, you see sign in user. And guys, everything is working just fine up until this point. That means we are working very well with our build and we are moving forward together. So at this point everything is up and running and we are almost, we are doing everything how we are supposed to do it. So the last part of this build is going to be handling all the errors, okay? Because at this point we are just console logging all the errors, but we want to handle those errors in one of the best ways, or in one of the smartest way of handling an error. So let's quickly do that. Okay, so back here we are now going to try to handle all our errors using a general middleware. Okay, so that middleware is going to come right here. We go back to app.js. Okay, so after all the routes, I'm now going to use another route that will be responsible for handling our error, and this is a specific middleware because it's going to start with error. Okay, then request, result, and next, just like this. Okay, so I'll come back to this a little bit later, but let it stay like that. Okay, or let me just comment it. Okay, oh no, just let me do this. Let me do this so that it doesn't bring an error. So this is going to be a function just like this, and this is what I'm going to do, so that way it's not going to bring an error. So I'm just going to go back to my controllers, and since we are going to use now another middleware, this is how I'm going to do it. So I'll just be checking if, okay, if error, if there is no status code. Okay, error.status code. If there is no status code, I'm just going to set the status code, just error.status code. I'll set it to 500, just like this. Okay, then after setting it to 500, all I'm going to do here, I'm now going to utilize the next. Okay, I'm going to utilize this part. I'm going to utilize this part of next. All right, right here, this next, because this is, in this way I can't throw an error. Okay, I can't say throw, I can't just say throw new, throw, I can't say throw new error. No, that is not going to work. Okay, since we are here in the middleware. So the right way to handle this error so that it get catched by that middleware we have defined in app.js, you have to put that error in the next. Okay, you just say next error, just like this. So we are going to replace this. You're going to replace this instead of console log. This is how it's going to be replaced. Okay, just put Ctrl V. Then in this other middleware of users, we are going also to do the same thing. Okay, so this is where catch. Okay, whenever there is a catch, we just, whenever there is a catch, you just replace it by this. Okay, also here we do the same replacement, say Ctrl V. Okay, then after doing that, I'm just going to do the same right here where there is an error. Just wait for it. Okay, it's going to happen here where there is this then. Okay, we have a then we have a catch. We have a catch. We're going to catch an error. Then inside here, I just put that same logic. I'll put it there. I think those are all the places where it's going to be placed. Okay, then this catch, we are not going to do it like this. We are just going to say throw. Now here we are going to throw it so that it get catched by this other. Catch error. Okay, we're going to throw a new error, and this is going to be our error, just like that. Okay, so that way we have handled that, but the remaining part is now to define this middleware. Okay, this middleware right here, so that we give it a meaningful use. So for that, we are just going to do this. We are going to first check. Okay, we are going to first check the status. Okay, I'm going just to say const status. This is going to be equal to error.status code. Then in case there is no status code, we are going to set this to a default of 500. So we're going to have const message is going to be equal to error dot message, just like this. Okay, so now the remaining part, I'm just going to say res dot json, dot status, just like this, json dot status, and we set that to the status that is right there, json dot status dot json, res dot status dot json, and this json is going to be an object where I say message equal the message that will come from the error. Okay, this message right here. So now it's time to give this a try and see if it's really going to work the way we expect it to work. Okay, so the application has started, so now it's time to give it a try. Okay, we'll go back to Postman, and here I try to remove my email, so I try to give a fake email. So when we send that, you see the result comes back, enter a valid email. So I put at let me just try to put something that is not valid. I'd add an a here, so I send. You see, password incorrect. So that means we are handling the errors the way we are supposed to handle them, okay, in a good fashion, using only one middleware. Okay guys, so this is the way you can handle the errors in your application in a very good way, okay, using this specific middleware, and it has to be at the bottom of all other routes, okay, and it starts with a specific keyword, that is the error. Okay, then we have error, request, result, and then next. Okay guys, so now after doing this, let me just double check something before we proceed. Just go to controllers. We're going to double check something right here. Just give me a second. Status. Okay, all right. So okay guys, after doing this, I think it's now time to deploy our API, right? But make sure, there is one thing I want to tell you, that this is just a basic API, so you can add other stuffs like JavaScript web tokens if you want, and also Malter to handle images and all those stuffs. But the basic was just to show you how a simple application or a simple API can work, or how to build a simple API. So the rest, you can implement the rest on your own, and feel free to do that in sort of practice and all those stuffs. So guys, it's now time to deploy our application. So before we deploy our application, we are first going to go on, we are first going to create a GitHub project, okay, because this is supposed to be deployed on GitHub. All I'm going to do is to go on my GitHub. Just wait for it to open. Okay, so this is my GitHub. I'm just going to create a new project, and this is going to be called blog API, just like this. It's going to be public. I'll add a readme later. Okay, so I'm just creating that repository. Okay, the repository has been created. All I need is to copy this. I just copy that path. Okay, so now I'm just going to go to my command line. Okay, so I'll go to my command line and say git remote. Okay, git remote add origin control v. Okay, there we add an origin. Then I'll say git add. After adding all those stuffs, the next step, when this is done, we're going to say git commit. Okay, so that we commit our message. I'll say just deploy API. Okay, so after committing the message, just wait for it a minute. After committing the message, the next step is going to be pushing the changes, right? So let's wait to commit the changes. I think my network is kind of not stable, that's why. But anyway, this won't stop us. Okay, so now after committing the changes, the commit has been done. So we are now going to push the changes. Okay, so for that you're going to say git push. Okay, so now we are going to set upstream. Okay, you are just going to set the upstream just like this and wait for it for the deployment. It's going to take some seconds. So okay, we get an error. Contains work, yeah, do not have locally. Yeah, I understand this. Okay, let me first pull. I first need to pull the changes. Okay, so after pulling the changes, I'm now going to push them. I have a little error there. Okay, so now as it's pushing, okay, as it's pushing, I had some issues, okay, with the git ignore, but those have been fixed. So now we are pushing. Okay, so when that is done, we can go now to our browser, and right here, if I refresh, you will see all the elements right there. When I refresh, you see them right there, but I'll have to delete these node modules, okay, because it's of no use and it was a mistake that it has reached there. So I'll have to delete the node modules. So I'll say delete directory. Okay, so all right, after deleting, I'll just go back here and see, confirm that I've deleted the node modules. Okay, just wait a minute. I'll have to delete this directory, then I have to merge that. Okay, I have to commit the changes. So just wait a minute. When this is being deleted, yeah, because the file is too large. Okay, and we are getting a warning that the file is too large, so deleting that file will take some minutes or some seconds depending on the internet connection. But don't worry, after when this is done, we are going to move forward. Now here, before deploying, before hosting our site, there is something I forgot here, is that here in package.json, I need to remove Nodemon, okay, because we don't need Nodemon anymore. This is for development purpose. Okay, so now again, all I'm going to do here is to repush my project. Okay, so I'm going to go to the command line again. I'll first clear this. Okay, so I'll git add, git commit, just like this, git commit, remove Nodemon, then git push. Okay, so after pushing that, we are now good to go. I'll just go back to my browser. Okay, just give me a second. I'll just go back to my browser right here, and all I'm going to do is to deploy now the project. Okay, so okay, let me first delete these node modules, because they will just add more size to my files for nothing. Okay, to my folder. So I'll first need to delete this and commit the changes. Oops, just a second. This is going to be very, very complicated to reach the commit. It's going to be very hard to reach the commit, but anyway, we are just going to commit. We have no choice. Okay, so give me a second so that I commit these changes and remove those node modules. Okay, now as we are done, it's now time to deploy our project. Okay, so all I can do here is to go to Heroku. Okay, Heroku, But guys, as you saw in our project, yeah, let me go back there before we continue. You see here in my Visual Studio Code, there is one, there is one security threat I have, is having this connection, okay, having this connection hard coded here. And I did this because it was only for the demo purpose. But if you are working like in a production application, this will never be committed, okay. All you have to do is to put this string in the .env file that will be, and add in git ignore, you add .env here so that it doesn't push that, okay, so that that file doesn't get pushed to GitHub, okay, because this is security, so you have to keep it for you. And when you are deploying, you'll have to put that in environment variable on Heroku so that you can access it by typing process.env. whatever name you gave it. So talking of that, there is one other thing I have to do before deployment. I don't know how I forgot it. When I'm talking about process.env, that when I remember that I also have to do that. So I'll go back again. I'll go back again to my command line and try to pull the changes, git pull. So after pulling the changes, the next step, I'm going just to add a process.env for the port, okay? Because we have a port there, and we need our we need Heroku to set the port for us, okay? We are not supposed to set the port for ourselves. We need Heroku to set the port for us. And to do that, I will just go back here and set a process.env.port, okay? So I'm going to show you how that is done, so that one day when you are working in a real app, you don't do the same error, okay? I just forgot about how it can be done, about doing it, but I've just recalled when I was talking about that. So that connection, that string connection was not supposed to be hard coded in our application. We can put that in a .env file, okay, so that we after we are done pulling our changes, this is where we're going to say process. This is not supposed to be hard coded in production, so I'll just say process.env, okay, .env.port, just like this. Okay, so if there is no port, like in case of localhost, I'm going to say 4000. This is how it's supposed to be done. So when we are deploying on Heroku, this process.env.port is going to be auto-generated, okay? And I can remove this console log. That will be auto-generated by Heroku itself. So this is how it's going to be. And this catch, we can leave the catch right there, okay? It won't be that necessary to remove that. So I check again. We have node app.js, okay, this is fine. So I'm going to push these changes again. So just say git add, git commit. The message I'm going to say set process env, just like that. You can commit it however you want. So after committing the changes, I'm now going to push. So just git push this way, so that we push that, okay. So wait for it a minute. Okay, those changes have been pushed. So now the next step, I'm just going to go back to my browser, okay, and log in with Heroku. If you don't have an account, just create an account. It's very easy. Create an account, it's completely free. Okay, so wait for it a minute. Okay, so I have a couple of projects there. I'm just going to add a new project, create new app, and this, I'm going to name this blog, I don't know, just blog API. Oops, name is not available, so let me just add another I. Oops, or let me just say blog. Oops, not available. Blog just like this. Oops, not available. blog API. Just I'm trying to create a name. Oh, 005. Okay, I'm trying to get an available name. Okay, so I'll say me blog. Maybe that one is, oops, not available. Me blog, like this. Oh, okay, that one is available. I'm going to create app just like this. So after creating, we now see here a couple of ways of doing this, but I'll go one of the easiest way. I just click on GitHub like this. Okay, so right here I look for repo. This is blog API. Yeah, so I search for that repository and it's right here, it's available. I connect, wait for it. It's taking some seconds. Okay, so I'll enable automatic deploys. Okay, so that whenever I make a change, it just redeploys. Okay, so after doing all that, all I'm going to do is deploy branch. It's main branch. So just wait for it. The deployment has started. Wait a minute. While it's installing dependencies and doing all those stuffs, we are going to wait a couple of seconds. Okay, so now the deployment is done. Let's just check if our application if our API is up and running. So you go up here, you click on open app. If I see some posts, okay, now we see the post we created. That means our API is now up and running and everything is all set, or everything is up and running the way we wanted it. We can test that using API. We can test that using Postman. All you have to do is to grab the API link or the API URL and paste that in Postman. Now we are going to paste that in Postman and try to get the article and do all the rest of the stuffs just for the purpose of trying the API. So I send a request, wait for it. As you can see, we get back the API. So if I try to post on /create post like this, we go to the body row and these are going to be JSON data. So all we are going to do here is creating again the JSON data. So to create a post, remember we should have a title. We're going to have a title and I'll say my last post. It's just some silly title. And we are going to create the content. It's going to be hello from Heroku API. Okay, from Heroku API. So if we try to send, let's see if this works. We see post created. Okay, this is interesting. So if we try to get again, we see if we are going to get that post that we have just created, and it's right here, my last post, hello from Heroku. That means basically the whole API is working the way we expect it to work, right? So this is basically how we can develop an API, and that link is the link you can use in maybe your React application or any other application where you want to use that API. Okay, so guys, we have built and deployed our first API. Congratulations everyone who has made it this far, and thanks for watching this video, guys, and smash the thumbs up button so that my video gets spreaded to many people. Make sure you subscribe so that you don't miss any of my content. And with that said, guys, I'll catch up with you in the next one.